This is your last chance. Don't mess it up.
The kitchen of the Grandview restaurant blazed with heat and tension. Marcus Hayes worked the line with practiced efficiency, his hands moving automatically through preparations he'd done thousands of times. At 36, he'd been cooking professionally for 15 years, but the past 3 had been the hardest. Since losing his wife, Elena, to cancer, every day felt like survival rather than living. He had a 6-year-old daughter, Sophia, who needed stability. That meant keeping this job at Grandview, even though the new management was making that increasingly difficult. The restaurant had been sold 6 months ago to Culinary Holdings, a corporation that owned a dozen high-end establishments across the city. They'd brought in consultants, changed suppliers, and implemented standardized recipes designed to maximize profit margins. The food had become acceptable but soulless, and the staff knew it. Marcus kept his head down and cooked what they told him to cook. He couldn't afford to lose this job. But today, his luck had run out. Chef Raymond, the new corporate-installed head chef, stood at the expo station reviewing plates with obvious displeasure. He was young, ambitious, and more concerned with Instagram presentation than actual flavor. "Hayes, your plating is inconsistent with brand standards," Raymond announced loudly enough for the entire kitchen to hear. "You're behind on ticket times, and yesterday's lamb was under-seasoned according to customer feedback." Marcus bit back his frustration. The lamb had been perfectly seasoned before Raymond had insisted on the corporate spice blend that stripped away all nuance. "I'll adjust, Chef," Marcus said evenly. "You've been adjusting for months. It's not working." Raymond crossed his arms. "You're a line cook who thinks he's an artist. This is a business. We need consistency, not creativity. You're fired. Clear out your station after service." The kitchen went silent. Marcus felt the words like a physical blow. Fired, with a daughter depending on him, bills piling up, and Elena's medical debt still crushing him. "Chef, please," Marcus said, hating the desperation in his voice. "I need this job. I have a daughter. That's not my concern. Your performance is, you're done here." Before Marcus could respond, a woman's voice cut through the kitchen. What exactly is the issue with his performance? Everyone turned. A woman in an elegant navy suit stood at the kitchen entrance, her dark hair pulled back, her expression sharp and assessing. She was probably in her late 30s, and she carried herself with unmistakable authority. Raymond's face went pale. "Miss Castellanos, I didn't know you were visiting today." Isabella Castellanos, CEO of Culinary Holdings. Marcus had never met her, but everyone knew who she was. The woman who'd built a restaurant empire from a single-family bistro? "Clearly," Isabella said coolly. "I make it a practice to visit our establishments unannounced. I want to see how they actually run, not staged performances." She walked further into the kitchen. "So I'll ask again, what's the issue with this chef's performance?" Raymond straightened, trying to regain composure. "Marcus Hayes. His plating is inconsistent, his speed is below standard, and he's resistant to following our corporate guidelines." "Show me," Isabella said simply. "I'm sorry?" "Show me his work. I want to taste something he's prepared." Raymond looked flustered. "We're in the middle of service." "Then it's the perfect time to evaluate. Chef Hayes, prepare something. Whatever you think represents your best work." Marcus stared at her. This was it. His last chance. He could follow the corporate playbook and prove Raymond right about his mediocrity. Or he could cook from his heart and risk everything. He thought of Elena, of the sauces she'd taught him, recipes passed down through her family for generations. Of the small jar he kept in his locker, the last batch of her signature sauce that he'd been too sentimental to use. "Give me 15 minutes, Marcus said. He moved quickly, pulling ingredients and firing up a clean section of the range. From his locker, he retrieved the small jar of Elena's sauce. She'd called it soul sauce, because she said it carried the essence of everyone who'd ever loved cooking in her family. Marcus prepared a simple dish, seared scallops with seasonal vegetables. Nothing fancy, nothing trying to impress with technique. Just perfect ingredients, perfect timing, and Elena's sauce bringing it all together with layers of flavor that told a story. He plated it with care and set it before Isabella. She studied the dish, then took a bite. Her expression remained neutral, but she closed her eyes for a moment. Then she took another bite, and another. When she set down her fork, her eyes were glistening. "What is this sauce?" she asked quietly. "My late wife's recipe," Marcus said. "Her family's recipe, actually. Passed down through 4 generations. She died 3 years ago, and I've been too afraid to use it. Afraid I wouldn't do it justice." Isabella was silent for a long moment. Then she turned to Raymond. "You were about to fire this man?" "Yes, ma'am. His work has been substandard according to our corporate metrics." "Your corporate metrics are measuring the wrong things," Isabella interrupted. Her voice was sharp now, cutting. "This dish has more soul than anything I've tasted in our restaurants in months. Do you know why I started Culinary Holdings? Because I grew up in my grandmother's kitchen learning that food is about connection, memory, love. Somewhere along the way we lost that." She stood, addressing the entire kitchen now. "I built this company to honor my grandmother's legacy. Instead, we've become focused on efficiency and margins at the expense of what actually matters. This ends today." Isabella looked at Marcus. "Your wife's sauce." "Tell me about it." So Marcus did. He told her about Elena, about her family's tradition of teaching each generation to cook with love, about how the sauce was meant to be adapted, personalized, made unique by each cook who inherited it, about how it represented connection across time, memory preserved in flavor. "My grandmother had something similar," Isabella said softly. "A sofrito recipe that she said carried our family's story. When she died, the restaurant we'd built together started focusing on expansion instead of essence. I became a CEO who forgot to be a cook." She turned to Raymond. "You're reassigned to our corporate test kitchen. We need someone focused on efficiency there. But our restaurants need something else. They need heart." Then to Marcus. "I'm offering you executive chef position at Grandview. Your job is to bring soul back to this kitchen. Use your wife's sauce. Teach your team about cooking with love and memory. Build a menu that honors tradition while moving forward. Can you do that?" Marcus could barely speak. Yes, I can do that." "Good. Your daughter, what's her name?" "Sophia, she's 6. Bring her by sometime." "I have a daughter, too. 9 years old. This business has cost me time with her that I can't get back. But maybe we can build something better. For them and for everyone who eats food that actually means something." 3 months later, Grandview had been transformed. Marcus built a menu around family recipes, each dish with a story. He hired cooks who understood that technique without passion was empty. The restaurant became known not for Instagram-worthy plates, but for food that made people cry because it reminded them of their grandmother's kitchen, their mother's table, meals that meant love. Isabella visited regularly, often bringing her daughter. She and Marcus developed a friendship built on shared loss and rediscovered purpose. They both understood what it meant to honor the dead by living fully, to preserve memory by creating new joy. One evening after service, Isabella found Marcus in the kitchen, teaching a young cook how to properly season a sauce. "You've changed this place," she said. "Revenue is up 30%. But more importantly, people are talking about Grandview the way they used to talk about my grandmother's restaurant. Like it matters." "Elena would be proud," Marcus said. "She always said food should be a gift, not just a product." "My grandmother said the same thing," Isabella smiled. "I've been thinking, what if we did this across all our restaurants? Not imposing your style, but finding each location's unique voice. Hiring chefs who cook with heart, not just skill. Building something that honors where we come from while creating where we're going." "That's a big vision." "It is. And I'd like you to help me implement it. Culinary director for all Culinary Holdings properties. You'd travel, work with each chef, help them find their voice while raising their skills. It means more time away from Sophia, but the salary would be substantial. Enough to eliminate your debt and secure her future." Marcus considered. More time away from his daughter felt wrong. But securing her future, showing her that passion and heart could build something meaningful, that felt right. Can Sophia come sometimes? Learning about food, seeing different kitchens, understanding this world? I think that's perfect, Isabella said. My daughter could use a friend who understands this crazy business. And both girls deserve to see what their parents are building. Marcus accepted. Over the next year, he transformed Culinary Holdings into something unique in corporate dining. A collection of restaurants that felt personal, distinctive, alive. Each chef found their own voice, connected to their own story, while meeting high standards of technique and service. Sophia traveled with him sometimes, sitting in kitchens doing homework while chefs prepared family meals. She learned to taste critically, to understand that good food carried stories, to see her father as someone who'd transformed grief into purpose. 2 years after that day in the kitchen, Marcus and Isabella stood in the original Grandview dining room, watching their daughters help plate desserts for a charity dinner. You saved my job that day, Marcus said. But more than that, you reminded me that Elena's legacy wasn't just in a jar of sauce. It was in the values she taught me. Cook with love, serve with generosity, remember that feeding people is sacred work. You reminded me of the same things, Isabella replied. I'd built an empire but lost my grandmother's spirit. You brought it back, not just for me, but for every restaurant, every chef, every customer who tastes food that actually means something. She watched Sophia laugh while carefully arranging berries on a plate. Our daughters will grow up understanding that success isn't just about money or power. It's about creating with purpose, honoring those who came before, building something that outlasts us. Elena would have liked you, Marcus said. She always said the best people were the ones who remembered where they came from while building where they're going. I wish I could have met her, Isabella said softly. But in some way I have. Every time I taste that sauce, every time I see you teaching young cooks to put heart into their work, she's still here, still teaching, still showing us what matters. Because some recipes are more than instructions. They're legacies passed down, memories preserved, love made tangible. And sometimes, when we're brave enough to share what's most precious to us, we discover it wasn't just for keeping. It was meant to transform everything. Marcus had been fired for refusing to abandon his values. And that firing had led to saving those values, spreading them, building something that honored his late wife while securing his daughter's future. The sauce that was meant to stay in a jar had instead seasoned everything, showing that real success isn't measured in consistency and margins. It's measured in meaning, connection, and food that feeds more than just hunger. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales about honoring those we've lost while building lives they'd be proud of. Comment about a recipe or tradition that connects you to loved ones. Those connections matter more than we know.